Hello and welcome to this Getting to Know the Specification session for the T-Level Technical Qualification in Legal Services, Occupational Specialisms. In this session, we will give a brief overview of the structure of the T-Level Technical Qualification in Legal Services. We'll then take a high-level look at the Occupational Specialist Component, content and assessment. The T-Level in Legal Services includes the technical qualification and an industry placement. The requirement for English and Maths at GCSE or Level 2 functional skills has now been removed. There is no need for additional specialist qualifications to be completed for this T-Level. The technical qualification is made up of the core component and one occupational specialism. The core component covers the underpinning knowledge, concepts and skills that support threshold competence in the legal industry. It has a 535 guided learning hours and is assessed through 2 externally set core examinations and an employer set project. There are 3 occupational specialist components in this technical qualification. Each are 600 guided learning hours. Students undertaking the T-Level Legal Services qualification will choose one single specialism. The occupational specialist components are OS1, Legal Services Assistant, Business, Finance and Employment. OS2, Legal Services Assistant, Crime, Criminal Justice and Social Welfare. And, coming soon in 2024, OS3, Legal Services Assistant, Private Client, which includes family law, conveyancing, property law and probate. Students also need to complete a 315-hour industry placement related to the occupational specialism selected by the student. This is not something that Pearson are involved with. Guidance from the Department of Education states that the industry placement will last a minimum of 315 hours, which is approximately 45 days, but can last longer. Employers can offer industry placement as a block, day release, or a mix of these, and part of the placement can be shared with another employer if necessary. Providers and employers are expected to work together when planning the industry placement. When planning the programme, each of these factors need to be taken into consideration. The Legal Services Assistant, Business, Finance and Employment occupational specialism has 3 performance outcomes. Each performance outcome is broken down into a number of skill statements. These are what your students are expected to be able to do or demonstrate. There are also a number of underpinning knowledge statements. These are what your students need to know and understand in order to be able to demonstrate the skills. The Legal Services Assistant, Crime, Criminal Justice and Social Welfare occupational specialism also has 3 performance outcomes. Each performance outcome is broken down into a number of skill statements. These are what your students are expected to be able to do, whereas, as previously stated, the underpinning knowledge statements are what your students need to know and understand in order to demonstrate these skills. This slide is an example of how the specification is laid out. This shows the start of performance outcome 1, produce and analyse a trail balance. At the very top in the green box, we have included the skills from the general competency framework that your students will need to have the opportunity to demonstrate through the knowledge and skills covered in this performance outcome. You can see D1, D2 and D3 in brackets. Next, in the grey box, we have the first specialist skill covered by this performance outcome. So we have a summary of this on the page for you so you can see clearly where we are looking in the specification. You'll see the first skill statement here is S31, which is to draft a notice of bail application form. So here the S denotes skill as opposed to knowledge, which would be characterised by a K. Number 3 is here because this is performance outcome 3. And point 1 because this is the first specialist skill within this performance outcome. Let's look at another example. The next part of the specification shows the underpinning knowledge your students will need. Here, the example we're using is K7, drafting documents and legal forms. You can see under this are a number of sub-knowledge statements. For example, you can see 7.1.1 on the screen. Let's look at another example. This example is taken from performance outcome 1, assist with the inception, progression and completion of legal services from the crime, criminal justice and social welfare option. We're looking at S13, S14 and S15. The layout is the same. Again, you can see that at the top in the green box, we've included the skills from the general competency framework that we expect students to have the opportunity to demonstrate through the skills and knowledge covered in this performance outcome. You can also see reference to English and digital skills by the E1, E2, E4, E5, and D1, D3, and D5 in brackets. We then have the specialist skill. This has been broken down further into sub-skills, in this case, S13, S14, and S15. You'll see these in the specification subsections. All of the sub-skills are required to achieve the specialist skills. And then underneath that, you can see the knowledge, underpinning knowledge that students will need. In this case, K2, Criminal Justice System Police Powers, which again is broken down into subsections. And the one you can see on the screen here is 211 detention. Alongside that, there is also a notification of the English, maths and digital skills that could be developed alongside the knowledge here. And now a final example. As you can see, the underpinning knowledge here is from K1 crime. And as you can see, it is broken down into understanding the basic principles of property offences such as theft and burglary. There is a single synoptic assessment for this occupational specialism, which is an extended project that is set and marked by Pearson. When preparing for the synoptic element of the project, it's important to ensure that students can demonstrate threshold competence and are able to evidence all the skills required by the performance outcomes. Your students will undertake the project under supervision, under supervised assessment conditions. The assessments will take place over multiple sessions, up to a combined duration of 16 hours and 30 minutes. The project consists of several activities grouped into 6 substantive tasks, which will be awarded at pass, merit or distinction. Each task will be completed either at a date and time set by Pearson, or during a window again set by Pearson, during which you will schedule supervised assessment sessions. We will look at an indicative assessment schedule in a few slides' time. The project will present the student with tasks that emulate activities undertaken in workplace situations. There will be an overarching narrative linking the tasks together. The overarching scenario will always be designed around a scenario in which the student is working within a legal environment as a legal services assistant. They will provide services to their firm's clients. This is a substantial project, and the tasks are mapped against the different performance outcomes. Your students will be assessed on their application of the skills listed in the performance outcomes, but they will not be assessed against specific knowledge outcomes. Instead, they will be expected to draw on and apply underpinning knowledge when applying the skills in response to the activities in the tasks. The project's outcomes will consist of a portfolio of evidence submitted electronically. You will need to refer to the individual task guidance included within the assessments for further information on how to facilitate each task and how to collate and submit evidence. In the next sets of slides, we will look at the structure of the project and in a little more detail at the tasks. This slide shows you task 1A from the sample assessment materials, where the candidate is asked to source material as a starting point, and they are given a number of bullet points to consider in researching that material. They are warned that they will need to go beyond the source material provided as part of this research, and that it's important to include citations and references. Here is an example of the types of source materials that will be given to learners to support them in understanding the context of the subject matter. This is done so that they can hone in on exactly what it is that they are being asked to research. The research tasks then build up to a written task, where candidates will need to use the research they have conducted to produce an article. As you can see, this is broken down into sections to ensure that candidates understand the structure needed to achieve the marks available. You will note that 3 of the 21 marks are awarded for citation, format, and language. The final element of the first task is a verbal presentation. As you can see, the candidates are given 20 minutes to prepare for this, and they may use notes. The focus here is on their verbal presentation skills. Task 2 then allows students to explore the law using a scenario in a typical application format. This enables candidates to demonstrate their ability to apply the law accurately to a range of facts. As you can see, both knowledge and application are required, with a higher weighting on the application than on the knowledge. The very last task for part 2 is the production of a written report. As you can see here, this carries 6 marks, so it's aligned with what we've seen on the previous slide, where 6 marks were given for knowledge and 9 marks were given for application. Moving on to our sample assessment example for task 3, the first part of this task focuses on the production of a report and is based mostly on knowledge retrieval, as compared to focus on skills in the other tasks. The candidates are then given some detailed information that sets out the context for the other tasks. This then brings the candidates on to part B, where there is a requirement to apply knowledge to the context that they've been given. As you can see, there is a similar weighting here as we've seen in task 2, where 6 marks are given for knowledge and 9 marks are given for application. Moving on to task 4. As you can see, this task focuses on knowledge retrieval. The candidates will be expected to use appropriate legal terminology in the context of the questions. As you can see, we have 2 reports that are completed as part of task 4A and task 4B, and both of these carry weighting for knowledge retrieval points, 9 marks in terms of 4A, and then a shorter report that carries 6 marks in terms of 4B. Similarly to the other 2 parts of task 4, this task also requires a report, and it mainly focuses on knowledge retrieval, with some application. Here, 6 marks have been allocated. The final task for task 4 is in the form of a letter, and will therefore require additional skills from candidates in setting out the letter in an appropriate manner. Task 5 requires a different skill set to the previous tasks. Candidates will be presented with a grid. They will need to conduct research and select specific information to demonstrate that they can conduct research appropriately in a legal context. As you can see here, the information required ranges from name of case to citation of case, and they must provide accurate information in order to receive the marks. The second part of the task continues to allow candidates to demonstrate research skills through the extrapolation of key information and the creation of a file note. As you can see here, they have to identify the court of the appeal was heard in, the basis of the defence, how the defence of insanity is established according to the second rule in paragraph 15, and then they focus on elements of paragraph 19 and 28 before finally summarising the outcome of the appeal. A third research task is then provided that will require candidates to understand how to use the website accurately to find the right information. As you can see here, most of the information requested is regulatory, but they're also asked to provide the name of the motoring related secondary legislation too. Candidates may also be asked to research a specific statute and collate the right information. Here, they're asked to produce a file note on the Public Order Act 1986, looking at specific sections of the Act. Part 5 of Task 5 then asks candidates to show that they have developed the skill set required to extract the correct information needed for a file note. As you can see, these are developing on the skills that you would expect to see in a typical legal practice. Using resource A, candidates have been asked to produce a file note with several bullet points on the key points that will need to be included in that file note. Similar tasks are provided throughout Part B, where the focus is on research and production of legal documents. As you can see here, this task requires candidates to produce a file note using the resource on the Road Traffic Act 1988 based on information that has been provided to them. So there's a level of research, a level of knowledge and a level of application demonstrable in this task. This task is another example of a task that is supported by a scenario. There is also a legal document to complete that is not yet available but will be available soon, and candidates will be expected to complete legal documents as part of this task. A range of forms will be provided so that centres can prepare students for these activities. A section of the forms will be used in each assessment window to test the ability of candidates to complete forms accurately by paying attention to the finer details that they are provided. There will be one occupational specialism project series per academic year. This is due to the large amount of content, the synopticity required, and as a result the linear assessment model. To give you as much teaching time as possible, but avoiding the ESP window, the core examination dates so as not to disadvantage students needing access to resets, the project will take place over several weeks across the spring and summer terms. The assessment window is set by Pearson. The date of the assessment window will be published in the key date schedule. This is published annually and is located in the Legal Services Technical Qualification webpage. On the screen is an example timetable that gives you a notional view of how the tasks are intended to be organised. However, please note this example is indicative and adjustments may be made in live delivery to account for variables such as the changeable date of Easter and the placement of school and bank holidays. As you can see, the tasks have been spread out over 4 weeks. All of the tasks are a set date by Pearson. You'll note the spaces created in this example. This is allowed to allow for students who benefit from access arrangements, especially additional time, to complete their assessments without tasks overlapping. This ensures that there is space even for students who are permitted significant amounts of extra time to complete the assessments in the intended order with no impact on further sessions. Where students suffer from illness during the assessment, there are 2 approaches you can take. For tasks that are timetabled in specific slots, a student that misses that part of the assessment will apply for special consideration in the same way as for a missed examination. For tasks timetabled in a window, such as task 6, the student will be able to complete the assessment at a different time to the remainder of the cohort, as long as this takes place within the allowable window. If the student is too unwell to attempt the task at all within the window, then they will apply for special consideration. I hope that we have provided you with a comprehensive overview of the T-level qualification. We do have a number of support mechanisms in place to support you in delivering the course next year and beyond. Here are some ideas on the support that you can get and the next steps that you should take in preparing to deliver the T-level. You should familiarise yourself with the specification and specimen assessment materials. Make sure you receive our monthly T-level e-bulletin. Book onto our Getting Ready to Teach and Getting Ready to Assess courses. Watch the admin support videos in our engagement hub and make use of the course materials provided on our website. There are a number of ways you can contact us, either online, email or post. The most direct method is via the Pearson support portal. Thank you for listening to this information video. I hope you found it useful. Please remember to take advantage of our Getting Ready to Teach and Getting Ready to Assess events. And don't forget to sign up to receive our monthly T-level e-bulletin. And just to finish, the best of luck to you and to your learners.